Oh, I hope you all are doing so well. Thank you so much for being here. As soon as I tried to start this video, having these coughing fits that are coming up. I wanted to talk today about stories. Stories that we hear, stories that we tell ourselves, the stories that we believe about our realities. And stories are important because they help us make sense of our experiences. And it gives us a framework through which to understand what we are going through. And yet, if that's just a container and a way of understanding what is currently in front of us, how long do we hold that story as truth, right? Because a story is taking an arrangement of energy and putting it into words or an image. It's a way of communicating this snapshot of our reality. But what is really true about the story? Is it the story itself that we have created based on the underlying energy? Or is it the underlying energy itself? And can we frame that underlying energy in a different way to tell a different story now? And the issue becomes when we hold into the story, knowing that that's really a projection of the underlying energy, or should I say not remembering or recognizing the story as a projection of the underlying energy, and now taking the story to be the truth and running based off of that. And that is essentially the crux of the human experience. We are born into this reality. We are told stories. From the very moment we are born, people create stories about us. And we carry those stories with us through all of our lives. But how accurate is that story? And then where in the course of our human experience do we bump into other people who have their respective stories? And where do we start believing that story and taking that on as our truth? When in fact, none of these stories may actually be accurate. And even if they were accurate at some point in time, energy is always changing and evolving. So has the underlying energy actually changed and evolved, but now we're telling an old story based on old energy? So my concern, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is when we talk about spiritual evolution or ascension or energy in general. You know, how do we understand ourselves in relation to this world? We go looking for the story that best fits what we are feeling. Right? And it's important when we tell stories to make sense of our reality so that we don't go insane. So the problem with that, though, is where are we living, though, within distortion? Right? Because we live in a distorted reality, right? There's distorted energy here. These are the trauma fields, so we're born into it. Where are we taking on a story to validate our experience, and actually what we're experiencing is distortion? So now we're taking on a distorted story, which for a period of time, it's very much necessary to try and make sense of things, right? Because this is what we're always trying to do, is to evolve and heal and move beyond the distortion. But where do we take that story and take it as law for all of time? And never is any story always 100% accurate and true in every single moment. We use an explanation of energy in order to understand what we're going through, in order to dismantle it and dissolve it so that we're not within pain and suffering. And we have to be very careful, because knowing that we live within distorted energy, it's a part of our experience. We have to be able to know what is not distorted energy as well. But if that's all we've ever experienced in our lives, we don't even know the difference. Although there is something inside of us that keeps saying, something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong, this can't be right. Although we may not experience it as that kind of voice, right? It comes through more of as a depression, as anxiety. These are all signals from our body via our energy fields that something is off. And there's a lot of things going on here in this conversation, right? Because then we can often turn to mental health professionals, we can turn to medication to try to minimize these symptoms. These symptoms are actually a signal to us to figure out what is going on inside of us that is not accurate and real for us. And yet we've taken it on as our reality. You know, I've always said anything in this realm, even science, it's all based on observed patterns that we then label and we say, this is what this is. And if you're also exhibiting this pattern of behavior, this is what you are, right? So, but a lot of this is not actually true. Again, it's just a way of attempting to understand this physical reality that we find ourselves in. So if we are able to create stories based on distortion, we are also able to create stories based on the truth of the light. And where are we refusing to be the creators of our own reality? Where are we willing to take on these distorted stories because it feels safer, because other people then identify with it and validate our distortion and this story that we find ourselves in? And again, very often there is a time where that is necessary, right? But we need to recognize we are always moving beyond, we are always evolving, we are always shifting. So if we have been in a particular story which is causing us pain for years and years and years and years, there is something very wrong here. And in the spiritual community, there is a lot of mental illness because people use this as an excuse to not shift out of the trauma and distortion. It's darkness, it's archons, it's aliens, it's something attacking me. Whether or not that's true, is that energy serving you? And if that energy is not serving you, it is within your power as a light being, as a soul, to shift out of it and to create a new story. And the brilliant thing is, creation is creation. We create a new story that we believe, and our energy field will attune to that. And we know that to be the truth here in the physical matter state. We've all experienced this. So where are we allowing the distortion in our field and then taking on a distorted story in order to understand it? But where are we staying stuck there? We have the ability to create a new story and to allow our energy field to attune to that. But where are we looking for permission in this here and now from a story of distortion rather than creating the story which would evolve into the energy that we're desiring? And we have to be very, very careful, because what is happening is that we are getting pulled into other people's distorted realities and identifying with their distorted stories and believing that that is the truth for us. And this is just not the case. So until you recognize yourself as the source of your own power and the source of your own light, and the source of the creation of your story, you will be looking externally, you will be looking out into someone else's reality. And you don't know if that's true or not for you, because you start to shift and change and attune to it. So if you can dream a better dream and a better reality, why are we not going there, right? We talk about the collective fields, right? The energy of the collective fields. Oh, the collective is feeling all this pain and suffering. Yeah, they are. And are we allowing our energy fields to go there too and be a part of that pain and suffering? Why are we not creating collective energy fields of love and empowerment? Why is it more financially feasible to continue to perpetuate trauma and pain and suffering? It's a huge moneymaker. Believe in darkness, believe in demons, believe in all these things that are attacking you. And again, at some level, it's important to understand that those things exist because those things want to keep you out of your light and out of your power. But at what point are you going to understand that that shit is keeping you there and keeping you from being the creator being that you are? So as long as you are aligning with that story and that creation, that is where you're going to stay. That field is not going to evolve because it benefits from you staying in your darkness and believing you don't have the power to shift that. And it's fucking bullshit. And I'm sitting here today and telling you this because I've been through this experience. And if I can move out of it, you can move out of it as well. And people will tell me, oh, you don't understand what my life is like. Oh, you don't understand. I fucking understand. I have been there. I've been under the covers more days than I care to think about. It's not all our fault. We are born into this reality where this crap is the truth. It's the dominant energy. And it is not the truth of how this planet was designed to be. And this is why you're here. Your job is not to stand in the darkness and heal it and clear it and make other people understand it. Your job is to stand in your light, to be a creator being, to shift out of your crap and your bullshit, and to show other people that it's possible. And this is how we create new consciousnesses and new consciousness fields. And know that those old fields, the people who are in there, the people who are creating them, the people who are manifesting them, the people who are keeping them going and running, are benefiting. And they're siphoning off of your power. All the while they're telling you to stop siphoning, to stop leeching, to stop mimicking other people, to be in your own power, to be a sovereign being, to be in your empowerment. They're doing it from a space of darkness and distortion. And that's why it doesn't feel good, and that's why you're stuck, and that's why you don't understand ascension. Because it's fucking bullshit and it's not true. It feels true and it makes sense for a period of time. But not for eternity. And you are here not to be a part of that, but to be something different. What is going on now, what is going on in the spiritual community, is a lot of fear-mongering, a lot of darkness. It is the Nazi regime. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and ever since this lockdown, COVID, everything started, all I could think, propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. That's all that kept running through my mind. Brainwashing. Fear-mongering. Telling a story and getting people to believe in it wholeheartedly. That now people are turning on one another to uphold these beliefs that they don't even know where they come from. They're just told to them through the earwaves. Well, airwaves, but it's what we hear. And we create a reality out of it that we feel like we have to get in line with. Or we're a bad person. Or there's something wrong with us. Okay, recognize you have been through this so many lifetimes. So many times. And it's happening again. And okay, maybe you're not falling for everything that's going on in the physical reality. But you're sure as shit falling for it in your energy field. And yeah, it may not be World War II and Hitler may be dead. But the ghost of what that energy created and the possibilities that it built is still very much alive. And it is being used today through and through. And so if you can take this physical experience you're having now with what's going on in the world and understand, oh my God, that is a manifestation of an energy. And what is that energy really doing? What is really going on? And it's not just collectively. What is going on inside of your own energy field? Where your base and your fundamental tone says, this is just the way I'm going to have to live. I'm just going to have to adjust to this. This is just going to be my reality. And it is so not the potential that you hold inside of you. Yeah, in the physical, we may have to have some kind of limitations. But we're also energetic beings. In a physical body, we can have a totally different energetic experience, even while our bodies are experiencing what feels like a limitation or a lockdown. And if we are within this perpetual pain and suffering, even though we may feel we lift ourselves beyond it at times, it's to know that there is still somewhere that we are not fully understanding who we are and what we're here to be and do. And really the ideal at this point is to step outside of anyone else's story, anyone else's system and way of being, and to find the truth for yourself. And if you have fear about that, damn straight you're stuck in somebody else's energy. Damn straight something else is affecting you. It's a very clear sign that you're being affected by these other energies. We're not meant to be within pain and suffering here in this reality, and yet we walked into it for the very purpose of dismantling it. And where are you now stuck in your course of dismantling? And where have you forgotten who you are? And you don't know where to go because no one is doing this yet, because it's your job to do it. There is no precedent for you because you are here to create that precedent. And so where you are afraid of looking ridiculous or sounding insane, of course, geniuses are not given their full recognition until after they die. And then people realize, oh my God, they had it right all along. And it's no different right now. The easier, safer way is to hide, is to go along with the mindlessness, to stand in line, to cover our faces. It's what will keep us safe. It's what will keep us from gaining attention, unwanted attention. But can you remember these feelings and these energies from other lifetimes? This is what we had to do. To hide, to sequester, to pretend we didn't know. But this is the gift of this lifetime too, is that we are embodying the energy. So we don't have to go out there and stand on the street corner and try to convert other people to our way of being. That's not the purpose. It's to fully embody it within ourselves, within our body, for our own selves first and foremost. And that by doing that, that is the greatest shift you will ever make. Because the energy field is connected to the body. Therefore, anything that you do and embody reflects back into your energy field, which means that you don't have to convince anybody physically about anything you're doing. Doing it for yourself is doing it for your energy field, which is connected to a much greater collective field, which you are not even aware of yet. So it's very safe to embody this in this lifetime. It was designed to be this way, and it's the big secret that a lot of teachers and 99.9% of the spiritual community doesn't want you to understand. Because we came into this world together. And we are part of a light consciousness that is just barely coming online now, that we all contribute to through our perfected alignment, knowing ourselves as source beings, as light beings. But the purity of that tone doesn't get through to that collective membrane unless it's truly within that pure alignment. And so this is why it feels like all these things you're doing sometimes don't have an effect, you're not feeling it, or you're not seeing the shifts in your physical reality. Because you agreed with these beings, with your soul group members, with your soulmates to come in to only disseminate these pure tones into these consciousness fields. So in many ways, it can feel like a catch-22. You can't hook up into it. You can't fully know it through the human until you're in that pure range. And yet, oftentimes we feel like, I don't know the pure range. I won't know the pure range until I feel it or see it outside of me. So it feels like you can never get there, and yet that's just not true, because inside of you, you have this perfected calibration, this perfected compass that guides you on your way. And the more that you know and understand yourself as a source light being, and that suffering is not supposed to be your reality, the more you attune to that light and to that consciousness field to which you can finally contribute this pure source energy. But they're starting to come online now. And yet it will have no part of the distortion. So often this is where we feel like we're bouncing back and forth. We know it, we don't know it. We know it, we don't know it. We believe it, we don't believe it. We remember, we forget. It works, it doesn't work. Right now it's both. But just know you didn't come into this world alone. And you're not going to leave alone. And you're not alone right now. And we're here to tell you that the more that you tune to that pure consciousness of who you are, the more you start to gravitate. I call it like a soul pod, right? It starts to look like a pomegranate. All these little seeds, these little sphere beings, these energy fields, which you are, but you're part of a much greater collective. And this membrane in between those seeds, right, is to which you contribute your consciousness. But you can't contribute distortion to it. But the more you break through this, the more you will start to feel it, and the more you will start to know it. And chances are no one in your physical reality understands this. So it's almost as if you're going on a quest and a mission, and you don't even understand what it is. There's just this calling within your heart. There's got to be more. There's got to be more. And there is more. There's absolutely, most definitely more. And it's here, and yet the work is for you to step out of the distortion, for you to move beyond these stories which have been created even before you came here. We're having to move into completely unprecedented ways of being. But if you're quiet enough and you listen long enough, you know this to be true. And we're not alone. We're all in this together, but who's willing to take that step? Who's willing to acknowledge the truth of these connections? So pure, so loving, so unconditional. It feels like a dream. But it's the dream we have dreamt. So it's already reality. We just have to find it. To find that path, to take that first step. And as we take that step, the next one lights up. This is the truth of the soul group and the soul connections. And this is where we're moving. This is where we're going. It's inevitable. And yet the more that we don't quite understand this yet, and the more we're trying to hold into the distortion to validate our suffering, the more painful it will become. So allow yourself to move into that landscape of the dream and allow the dream to become the reality. And this is the way it was designed to be. I'm going to leave that here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take good care.